Hey, anybody here familiar with Spec Up Tea? All right. Well, I'll ask again when we get some more people because I can't get it to that. I can't get the editor to relaunch. I don't know how to do it. Hmm. Hey, Drummond, quick question
Yes.
before we start. I've been trying to, I was starting with Spec Up Tea and I somehow closed the tab with the editor running and I don't know how to relaunch it.
Uh, so it's you, the way I always relaunch it is Open Terminal. At least I'm on a Mac, and it's npm run edit.
Yeah, but I
Um,
have it installed in my repo. I don't have it installed locally.
oh, so installing in repo. Okay. So you're not
Yeah,
using it locally. You're using the web version.
yeah, exactly. I'm using web editor than GitHub.
Ah, and then I am going to confess ignorance because I don't actually know. I've seen a demo of the web version.
Okay.
We did
All
one
right.
last week, but I haven't used it, so I'm not sure how to reopen the window. Um, the well, I can point you at if you put something in the Discord channel for the concept and terminology working group and address it at either Hank put at Hank Von Kahn or at Core, Kors. They should be able to help you there.
Can you drop me a
Eh,
Discord invite?
yeah, I can do that right now.
Uh,
That's okay. Let me find that channel. There it is right there. And I hit the invite. No, I don't want to create. Yeah, that's it. Okay, it's easy since anyone can join that channel. I'm going to stick that right in the meeting chat here. Okay. Uh, Channel invite. There you go. That should help connect you there.
Gracias.
All right. We're giving you just a minute. I will get set up. Good. I see Martina and Nikki and Scott are all here. And Jeff. Um, so we have all of our let me get my page up here, which is that one. Oh, okay. It's the right window, wrong. I want to get over here to this window. There we go. Move some stuff around here. Participants and chat. That's what we need. All right. Might be a little late today because it is the day before uh, U.S. Thanksgiving. Um, I did get a internal complaint like, "What do you mean you've got to work tomorrow?" I'm like, "It's the day before Thanksgiving." It's like, "Well, families in town, all that kind of stuff." I'm like, "Well, this is important." All right, it's 4 minutes after, so let's go ahead and get going. Welcome everyone to the November 26th meeting of Decentralized Trust Graph Working Group. And we always share our antitrust policy notice right here, just for everyone who's coming to Linux Foundation meetings. I think we're all well aware of that. Got it on the screen. We always check and see if there's anyone new to the group that would like to do an introduction. This is an opportunity. You can just put your hand up and do a brief introduction, or you feel free to put something in the chat. And I also need to remember to add this to the meeting notes. I'm going to add to share. We have a member bio page. If you want to add a little bit of information there, I will stick this in the ch ch member about page. Uh, so that folks have that there. Feel free to, if you, and even if you are a regular but you haven't added a bio there, please feel free to do that so that you can have a sense of others can understand your interest in being here. Um, okay, I'm not seeing any hands up, so let's go ahead and dive into things. As usual, I have a very full agenda. Um, we'll start out. Anyone who wants to make a just a quick, short, but general interest announcement of something that you think is. Oh, Nicole. Oh, welcome, Nicole. Um, super glad to have you here. Any friend of ASML is a friend of ours. And yeah, we're going to be deep into verifiable relationship credentials. So very glad to have anyone that's working on the UX there. So welcome.
Thank you.
Um,
Good morning.
yeah, it was super. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about your work at ASML?
Sure. I started in the summer and have been working with Alberto and Brendan on the digital identity product, where we're connecting a bunch of dots from how it's functioning to what it's going to look like, hopefully, in our wallet. And prior to this, I worked in government, and prior to that, I worked in private sector and design spaces, labs, and engineering firms, actually. So,
That's super cool. And you've been working on UX and product design?
yes, 20 years.
20 years. Wow. That's That's fantastic. We desperately need your skills here when we're talking about this entirely new ceremony for forming relationships on the internet. So, welcome.
Thanks.
Cool. Okay, just checking to see again as folks are coming in if there's anyone else who wants to do an introduction, and if not, we will dial in and dive into things. Um, so again, I was just asking, is there anyone who wants to make any sort of general announcement of something that we always check for this, just to see if there's anything. Folks, go ahead, Riza.
Good morning. For anyone in the Los Angeles area, Kwai is holding a holiday party. You're all welcome. December 18. I'll post a link to it in the chat and you can follow there. It's going to be at the legendary Sound City studio and it'll be with some celebrity rock stars that you'll find the names all recognized and they're all donating their time for in the cause of um, rock against the machine. And so it's basically a rebellion against big tech running roughshod over the rights of artists and celebrities. Rock against the machine.
Cool.
Okay, I'll post a link in the chat.
Very cool. I have told my younger son who's here for Thanksgiving. He lives in LA. I said this is a party he should try and go to. Scott, your hands up. Go ahead.
So I will be under the lights of the Identarati next Tuesday, uh, December 2nd, and talking to Mike Schwartz about applying governance to digital trust. And it'll be a live LinkedIn event. You can apply to register for that.
Governance and digital trust. Imagine that. Perfect. Okay. And is there a link? If there's a link, feel free to.
I'll add that.
Perfect. And I will stick it in the notes. And Sergey, welcome. Uh, welcome to the working group, Sergey. I just saw something in chat from Sergey. So
Good day,
that's
everyone.
great. Oh, yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Sergey.
Oh, just saying good day to everyone. And I think we have already met each other like on the very first call. Yeah. So I'm from Me Foundation, and we are looking forward to relying our software on uh, first person and related things. So yeah, we are quite interested in collaborating with you on the project. Thank you.
Excellent. Very good. Appreciate that. All right, I'm going to add that to the notes, but I'll keep going because I'm going to turn it over here very shortly. Okay, so quick review of action items. We have drafted charter pages for the two. We haven't drafted one for the R cards task force yet. I'm going to carry that one forward. Hopefully, everyone has been thinking about categories of risks. You'll hear from Scott and Nikki shortly on that task force. We're still working out this the Google Drive folder. We do have now a dedicated GitHub repo for the Credentials Task Force. We're going to talk more about that on our action item here. And we do have a lot. Hopefully, folks are looking at the proposals for VRCs, and again, we're going to talk about that. So, first thing we want to do quickly on our agenda here today, the quick agenda review is we're going to welcome Martina as our new co-chair. We're going to do the risk and harms assessment report, and then the credentials task force report, and which is going to focus on the whole bunch of discussions that are now going on the GitHub repos. I added one new discussion on design principles yesterday that I want to call out at the end, but I think we'll spend most of our time. There's a lot of meat in those discussions. So before we dive in, any revisions or additions to the agenda? Just take a quick moment to check. If not, Martina has volunteered, as hopefully folks saw after our last meeting on Discord, to be join Nikki and I as a third co-chair. And I'm super enthused about that because I think she brings a lot of great skills and experience. Martina, do you want to say a few words about stepping into that role?
No. Hi, everyone. For those, I mean, I know many in the call, also the previous calls that we had, but for those who don't know me, I'm located in Switzerland. I've been in the especially self-sovereign identity space for about 3 years now. Have kind of partnered up with Roman in the beginning of this year with focus on the first person project. Was a co-author with him on the first person project white paper. And yeah, I'm super happy and enthusiastic to co-chair this call here. And if you ever have any questions or ideas or whatever, just feel free. I mean, you can reach out to all of us. But just want to mention here that I'm here as well. And just let me know, especially maybe when you're also located in Europe and in a different time zone. So yeah, that's it.
Super. That's fantastic. Welcome, Martina. I can tell you she is a delight to work with, and it's great to have, get even more geographic diversity of our, leadership. And, we're trying to create a global solution. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Martina, for volunteering to help guide us. All right, let's and I note Scott and Martina, you're also helping to join the risk and risk assessment harms prevention. So that's our next thing. I'm going to turn it over to you, Scott or Martina or Nikki. Do you want to share? Or
Yeah. So I
okay.
think one thing I did want to acknowledge that Nikki did a great job of eliminating her name to this segment. That was very subtle, but so she could avoid any impart. So here's the deal. So we talked a little bit about initially We did a scope exercise the last time that we facilitated the everybody's input regarding what the scope of, in essence, this working group is. And if you could put at least that chart on the screen, I'm my background administrator can do that, as she's now identified herself. That would be helpful to do. So we kind of reached a quandary to some degree on this scope diagram because, as you can see, the scope diagram is getting kind of complicated. And, which is good. We've been, have had a number of conversations. We got some feedback. The last time we presented to this group, we added the community network managers, which is that's a dimension that is a part of the ecosystem. So we need to add that. And the question then comes down to there is more work to be done on the scoping to drill it down to the eventual, end result. However, drilling down any further from this is not necessarily in the scope of the risk assessment and threats and harms. So we needed to get a scope to the definition that we could then categorize risks. And we've done that. Okay, so we have different groups here. We have, we flush things out to identify certain topic areas. And really the next step within the risk assessment process is to start brainstorming risks in different categories, which we already have. Now, in addition to that picture, that architectural diagram, we have created a document. We can get to that document. And we felt it would be good not just to have a picture, but at least to have some kind of overriding document that is supporting kind of the risk context. And, we took some verbiage from the charter of this working group, and we're, kind of finishing a document that would identify the core components or aspects of really what's the what's in the bread box. So Nikki has taken a lot of the material that has been created in depth with another project sponsored by the Trust Over IP, which is the YOMA project. And there's a lot of good and meaty things. The question is what do we need for this particular aspect, which is the risk assessment? So we were kind of debating about that and reached a point where we said, let's just stop, present what we have to the working group, and then see where we need to go. So the next aspect also is we have a a date and time for an hour where we have been kind of using it as a task force working session. We need to transfer the ownership of that meeting from Nikki's personal account to Trust Over IP so that we can. I mean, it seems to work for the three of us, and hopefully it can work for others. It is, I think, 7 o'clock in the morning on Pacific time on Tuesdays. And
7 a.m. Pacific on Tuesdays.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if we can, I'll push it back to the working group if we can get a time slot for the, risk assessment and threats and harms task force for the slot that we've been using and borrowing Nikki's access video, session access, we can then do the next step. So the next step is to then drill down into these categories and start brainstorming risks. So we encourage that, that diagram that we've put together, we will give it back to the working group, and the working group we do need validation, but they can use that within the varying task forces to validate, oh, okay, this is topics or areas of the ecosystem that are germane to our task force. So this is supposed to be a kind of a working group wide document, similar to some of the efforts we're doing in risk assessments, because we're dealing with risks. The end goal of the risk assessment task force initially is to create guidance for task force to create requirements. We're not going to write requirements, but we are going to peg the risks that are driving the need for requirements that this working group has the means mechanisms to actually draw from. So we're still, it's early in the process. We identify risks, we then we then categorize the risks, and then we triage them, and then we think of, okay, how would the risks be mitigated by requirements in categories? And then we say, here's the gift of our task force to other task forces, and say, you come up with a set of requirements that fulfill these risks. Okay. So I think that's all I really wanted to go over. We have the link to this diagram, and we have a link to the document. Our request is that we get, next Tuesday's meeting set up through Trust over IP, and we start taking what we have and moving through the risk assessment process.
That makes total sense, and there's no problem in making a request of the of our administrators at LFDT to add that to the to the Trust RP calendar.
Now I'm gonna,
So
ask Martina and Nikki, obviously there was a lot of more conversations, a lot more also by them adding great comments and feedback to if they could supplement what I shared and things I missed that, we think are germane to the working group.
perfect. Nikki, Martina?
Martina, do you want to speak about this layering and yeah, what you wanted to, just open up to the group on these changes that we made in this diagram?
Yeah, sure. Wait, let's make it a little bit bigger. So what we did yesterday, yesterday, or one of the things that we did was that we got a little bit more specific on what's in those two boxes on the community network managers and the personal network managers. So the blue and the green one. We started organizing a little bit. Let's say one of the question is it's on the discussion, let's put it that way, how specific we want to go in these groups and how we're in these boxes, and how specific we must be. And this is, I think, also a question to this group. So when you see, for example, the personal network manager box, we have a mix kind of between very deep technology like CKP and cryptographic keys, and we have more high level UX UI things like R cards and like verifiable relationship credentials somewhere in between. And yeah, we started to group it a little bit, and based on that, then we had a discussion, which we thought we really need also the input from this group to clarify how specific we should go. So what does make sense and what not. And I think our common understanding is it's not our or the job of that risk assessment group to specify the requirements, as Scott just mentioned before. So just to be on a more higher level, but I think that definitely is something that needs some clarification. Nikki, do you have anything to add, or is this what you expected, what I presented?
Yes. So that's kind of an open question to the group. How useful is this, and how do these elements work together? And do we need to do more work on this as an overall group in order to manage our work, or is it just a frivolous exercise?
Yeah, I think one important thing is also to ensure that if we overlap with like the initiatives of other groups and task forces within this space, that we know of each other and that we don't do like parallel work that like is contradicting each other, in the sense that everyone does a little bit something, but with very good intention and a lot of work behind it, but no one knows that there is like another group that is also working on that. And I think this is also something that needs to be addressed. So my take, or one of my takes from yesterday's meeting, and I have to admit it was only my second, and I'm still a little bit under the weather, so I'm really happy when you, Scott, and you, Nikki, pitch in here. If I say something that you think like, what, were we in the same call? I really think this has to be clarified so that we can proceed with the risk assessment group to the best of our expertise and knowledge.
Excellent. I put my hand up just to say that I certainly think I would actually say that the sticky about to be done for communities is now, you fulfilled that when we noticed that. I think it was last week. We didn't have a call last week because of the Trustworthy Symposium. It was 2 weeks ago when we said, oh, we need to do that. It looks pretty complete to me for what you've done there. So I was going to say that this call it ecosystem map is something that you're right, we need to work on together, that it will evolve over time, and we don't have to say, oh, we have to totally complete this now, because it seems to have I want to spend more time looking at it, but I think it has all the artifacts that we've talked about or called out in the scope of the working group. And now it needs to do what you always do when you're moving forward and working out relationships and specifications for this, is we just clarify it over time. Neil, you put something in the chat to say what in this diagram is new and what falls into elements or components of a general SSI ecosystem. I see. Yeah, because some of the components are classic of all digital trust ecosystems, and some things are specific to digital trust graph. That's probably not an easy or short question to answer. Neil, do you want to say anything more about that?
No, I think it's just important. What's new? What is adding new requirements into general ecosystem and vice versa, right? So
yeah, I see your point. I think it's a good one. Sekershan also asks, is it a visual aid to manage scope and narrow deliverables, or is it something that will be an end output for an audience? I think it is definitely the former, and which is why I'm suggesting we sort of use it as an artifact and all of our work together in different task forces. We continue to improve it. I'm imagining, but I'm going to toss it over to Scott, Nikki, and Martina, that that this would be part of your deliverable in terms of the risk assessment because you need to provide a picture of what it is you're assessing risk against. Is that correct?
Yes and no. So, restate a couple things is the we're gonna stop for we, meaning the risk assessment task force is gonna stop at the point where we have enough input to, on scope to drive the rest of the risk assessment, which is where I feel we're close. However, the scope document of this is going to move forward as this will be provided all of the task forces to validate, okay, is these correct? Are there should we go, a level deeper? Um, you know, we need to have words and pictures to describe a very complicated, ecosystem, I think. And, I think that we will need variants of this and we need validation of this just to help our understanding around what we're trying to accomplish. I mean, this is the start of a process to actually govern the ecosystem. Because if we don't know what's in it, then how can we govern it?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. And again, I'm looking at it. I'm seeing, okay, sort of check, 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 check. It includes things that I was like, oh, I wouldn't, it's pretty comprehensive, and it feels like it's at the stage now where, unless anyone on the call disagrees, we can now just say, okay, this is our current map. If we have a link to it and anyone can make a suggestion at any time about how it needs to evolve, we can do that. Riza, you've got to have your hand up. Go ahead.
Briefly, yes. So when I look at this, I'm always trying to map this onto the thing that we're building. We're building a massively decentralized AI infrastructure with no single repo, no single centralized authority. And no single point of failure, hopefully. And so all of these constructs that I see inside the community network managers and the personal network managers, in fact, each of the objects I'd want to see running inside each node. And I'm not going to make this an obligation, expect this as an obligation on this group. But I have to do that mental gymnastics of saying, okay, well, you've got some central objects like the trust registry and the group trust graph and so on. And of course, that's the antithesis of what I'm trying to build. I don't want to have like the credit bureaus that are central authorities of your creditworthiness. I want the things like trust to be distributed in the fabric. So I'm looking for how I can map this onto the Quai worldview of what AI infrastructure should look like, and that either becomes what part of the mission of this group, or we have to figure out how we build. This looks like another centralized system with clients and servers, and I'm looking for a more peer-to-peer articulation of the structures that we're going to need to have. Hold on, isn't the name of this organization Decentralized Trust? And it looks very
Yeah.
centralized to me. So help me square that.
So I can address that, and I agree with you. This is a scope document for work within the working group. Okay.
Okay.
This isn't a scope document for the execution of the DTG ecosystem, which my sense is if we created kind of a 3D model of this, there would be components that would be operating within the green box peer to peer. There would
Hmm.
be communities that would be managed by network managers that would take advantage of the green box, all of which would take advantage of the purple box, because the purple box is really kind of the scope of our working group and the deliverables that we would, scope out to contribute to the ecosystem, so that the yellow box and the green box and the blue box don't have to do that. So the context of this is really work product, not the representation of a operational network.
Okay. I can buy into that. I mean that I've learned on this group. I've learned about VRCs, about verifiable relationship credentials, and we've taken that on board. I love that, and personhood credentials, love that. Taking that on board. Not quite sure what the R card schema is. I'm going to have to learn about that, but those seem like constructs that we can use and are repurposable. I was just getting a bit nervous about this centralization in the blue box, but okay, it's these are work groups or okay. I'll
I,
lower my
I want
hand.
to I want to
Mhm.
briefly pile on to what Scott was saying. I can see you would look at it and go, oh, this looks like a centralized system, but it Riza, is exactly the opposite of that. Every personal network manager, every person using a personal network manager, every community using community network manager is interacting with other people in communities as peers. Think, these are like our model with all of Trust RP is the internet, right?
Yeah.
And what we're doing is layering over the peer-to-peer nature of TCP/IP with saying, okay, now you're using trust protocols, and we're building on those trust protocols the ability to form verifiable relationships, person to community, community to community, and we're defining the data structures and protocols. We go trust task protocols for doing that. So I love the fact that it does say at the top, DTG communities. Imagine millions of them, right?
Yeah.
Think easily as many as there are, DNS domains out there. It's just, there are trust communities everywhere, and what we're trying to do is just give them tools for building trust relationships that are the epitome of decentralized is what we're after. That's why also you see at the bottom trust registry of registries, how you actually verify across those is one of the key challenges in building, scalable trust networks.
And this is
Hopefully
precisely
that's
what the NANDA project at MIT is working on.
yes, there is a key piece. Now, the one other thing I'd say from Riza's perspective is, um, although there are LLMs like called out there, one thing that many folks are doing is reading onto this that personal network managers will be one of the things you'll be managing as an individual is personal AI agents. One of the things community network managers will be managing is community AI agents. So we're I think it's an open issue for the task force to for this working group to say, all right, well, how much we want to make sure we fulfill our mission of building a decentralized trust graph. It can support many things if it the market wants to pull in the direction of, well, the main thing it's being used for is supporting building trust relationships among the users of AI agents. That's fine. It's not restricted to that, but if that turns out to be one of the best uses in the market, which we're seeing a huge amount of interest in, just from you and others in the space, that'll be great.
Okay.
Okay, hopefully that's helpful. I realize these are such good, rich, deep topic. I want to thank Scott, Nikki, and Martina, and this has evolved quite a bit. Again, I think the sticky can come out now because it is considerably richer now. I wanted to pull the two boxes a little bit apart so it's clear that they're two different. Uh, the last thing I'll say is one of my favorite things is we are in those boxes of community and personal network manager really establishing a new product category. right? These are, and there are companies in, oh, thank you, it's happening real time. There are folks in the space, some of them participating in this working group that are saying, we're going to build those products. And I know at least one of them is saying, and we're going to use it to specifically as a tool for managing AI agents. So I think, Riza, you're not the only one looking at that use of the decentralized trust graph. All right, I want to make sure we only have 20 minutes left because there's so much to go over. And I want to underscore, I've already put in the notes, action item for this new call that, and this is just for anyone who's new, as we self-organize into task forces, those task forces control their own schedule. And any task force that wants to have a regular call or even just occasional ad hoc calls with enough notice, you can use LFDT, Zoom rooms and all of that. All you need to do is just make a request that we want to call, put on the calendar. And all of the chairs, I'll make sure all the chairs have the ability to just send that in to the LFDT team. They're very responsive about doing that. And you can have a calendar slot. So 7 a.m. Pacific on Tuesdays. Is that weekly, Scott and Martina, Nikki?
Yes.
Is that currently okay? It's going to be a weekly call. All right. The whole
Just
issue of
well, the idea is to meet the day before we meet as a working group and give you status updates as opposed to taking too much time.
Yep. No, that sounds great. Excellent. All right. Well, let's turn the balance of time over to the very active work going on in credentials task force. And Jeff, I don't know if you want to display or you want me to show share the discussions
Sure, I
panel
can.
there.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing my screen just to highlight the discussion forum and just maybe, I don't know if everybody's used GitHub discussions before, so maybe it's helpful just to have a quick look at that.
Yeah, definitely go ahead if you want to share your screen. That'd be perfect. I'll continue to take notes in the background.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we've had a few, we opened this up about 2 weeks ago for discussions, and just real quickly, I mean, you can see there's quite a few different threads here, but on the left side, anybody that's participating in the discussions or who has a GitHub account, they can upvote the various discussions, if they think they're interesting. So makes it a little easy to sort of see what people are finding interesting and talking about, because that will bump them to the top. But you can also sort by latest activity, which is the default and things like that. But there's been a few, but I think the one that's had quite a bit of discussion is the subject of the VRC. There's been a bit of um, uh, talk about understanding what that exactly means, bidirectional relationships, how everybody sees them. I think it's been a useful discussion so far. And I wanted to highlight the use cases one here because that's been quite interesting too. We've been we've been looking at different use cases and trying to understand, okay, what would these be used for? How are VCs going to model these different use cases? Or, some cases it makes sense for there to be bidirectional or a mutual relationship established. Other cases it makes sense to have a one-way, for instance, a PHG might be a one-way via relationship to be determined. This is all still in flux right now. So I just wanted to point this out real quickly, and I don't want to spend too much time explaining this. I think it'd probably be useful. I know there's been some people active in the discussions that are here now. And I know Drummond, you've posted two things recently. One was the sort of the design principles here, and also the ZKP requirements, which you just posted. I know you want to talk about the design principles. So, given that we have about 15 minutes left, maybe I can hand it over and open the floor to whoever wants to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great. I would like to take just a second to highlight 'cause I want to come back to the one I think you can see. I always look and thank you, Jeff, for the brief tutorial. Again, anyone who's new to GitHub discussions want to strongly encourage you to engage there, because you don't it is the simplest interface to it's in some ways it's almost easier than Google Docs to engage, to go in, and as long as you have a GitHub account, you can go in and add a comment and or even add emojis and vote things up and down in terms of interest. And it's just a really rich tool for discussing these nice, deep technical topics, of which there are a number. And Michael Herman's been very active there, and I see he has his hand up. Go ahead, Michael. Michael, are you there?
Yeah, I just had to figure out how to mute my phone. Yeah, so I have been kind of active, and my brain kind of runs away with things sometimes. I've in the chat, I've highlighted discussion number 8, which is actually an evolution of a couple of the other discussion items. And I'm just going to just highlight what it is, and then if people can comment on it later, that would be fine. As I thought about VRCs, and we've had discussions about, are VRCs and PHCs kind of the same or different? Could they be represented similarly? How could verifiable credentials be used to represent, these kinds of relationships? And there's an interesting feature of VCs called proof sets. And rather than explain the whole thing, where I ended up with is these VRC proof set based VRCs can be used to represent any and arbitrary relationships. So it could be used to represent a VRC. It could be used to represent a PHC. That it's kind of this universal concept. And it goes one step further, and I'll finish with this, is that it also can be used as the basis for a voting system. And voting is a very powerful thing when it comes to societies and groups and communities. And maybe I'll just leave it at that. But I suspect this to be controversial, but I think it is. It's based on my approach of first principles thinking, and I think it could be quite extraordinary.
I want to say that when I finally had a chance, because I was really tied up in the Trust Overview Symposium, some other deadlines last week, when I got a chance to go in and start reading and beginning to respond to a couple, I found this thread to be fascinating. I was not aware. I'd heard some discussion about proof sets. I wasn't aware of how they worked, and Michael's actually provided a nice example here. And I was like, whoa, this is almost certainly going to be a powerful tool in the context of what we're doing. So thank you, Michael. I know you've added a number of notes about that. You even asked, who else is thinking about it. I just put a short note saying, hey, my thinking just catching up to this. I'm still very much focused on the call it the earlier discussions, and the one that that was pointed out, that Jeff pointed out, the subject of the VRC, we're still very richly on that. I'm going to take just a second to point out, because they were both, they came up in discussions. When are we going to have some discussion of design principles and the ZKP requirements? And so I finally got those two action items done yesterday. The design principles discussion, I found that when I went to say, okay, what really should we be doing? I was taken right back to the work we did 4.5 years ago on the design principles for the Trust OP stack, and that most of the design principles that I felt were relevant to what we're doing are already in that design principles document. In fact, I'll copy the link and just stick it in. If anyone has not seen that, there a lot of work went into it, And I feel like now we're really reaping the benefits of that because we divided those into three groups: the sort of computer network architecture design principles, human trust design principles, and overall principles. And I called out here the four that of the seven, four of them seem particularly relevant to what we're doing with here with DTG. As I reviewed the human trust principles, I thought, well, all seven actually make a lot of sense. For example, trust is relational, trust is directional, it is contextual, and it has limits. All of these things are very relevant to what we're now doing with, in particular, with verifiable relationship credentials. And then I felt all three of the our final overall requirements by designing for ethical values, simplicity, and constant change. Those are also relevant. And I finally, the only other ones I said that felt relevant to me are sovereignty, portability, and modularity of what we're doing. So I would love for anyone who feel strongly about any of these or other principles to weigh in on that thread, and that will help us, in terms of I'm already thinking and planning to comment on some other threads by pulling in these principles and saying, okay, I think these have a bearing on, for instance, the credential schemas discussion. I'm just checking. We have just 9 minutes left. I want to highlight the other one that I added, which is on our ZKP requirements. This is a very hot topic in the space. As I point out, not only, is there, did the personal credentials paper weigh in on the business case for using ZKP? But it's also the unlinkability, not strictly ZKP. Unlinkability is a requirement of the EIDAS 2 regulations for the European digital identity wallets. So there's active work going on, and I met with some of the folks working on that in Stockholm 2 weeks ago, and they are very interested in coming up with a solution that will work for the European digital identity wallet and credential presentation there, and for everything we're doing with first person well, the first person decentralized trust graph. And so they, by the way, they started a new mailing list at ITF. They just got started when, literally like the day before I got there. I'm putting it in there, and it is zip@itf.org. It stands for ZKP in practice at itf.org. So I think it's important for everyone to know that the work, our requirements around the use of ZKP for unlinkability of proof of personhood credentials is a subset of what's needed overall, and that some wallets, in particular, the DubDub wallet. I'm going to put that in there. I don't have the link right now. Someone could find that, but it's pretty easy to find. And which is now being supported by the Syros project, which is a nonprofit Swedish foundation that has been established just to support DubDub Wallet. They are making a commitment to ZKP, implementing ZKP that will support the EU requirements. And of course, we'd love it to support our requirements. So anyway, I go through and list, and thank you to Brendan and Alberto at Harvard SML for suggesting a number of the requirements. I broke them into proposed hard requirements, of which there are 6 that you see on your screen here, and then a number of others down below that I just put into other potential ones. And these require a lot more discussion. This is a super deep topic. I'm not a cryptographer myself, so even the discussions just around these different options are they get pretty deep pretty fast. So we may want to look at or figure out how we have a ZKP task force. And we pull in folks or figure out how to pull in ZKP experts that are not necessarily here at the table right now, but have a lot to input about this. So again, I just want to point that out so that folks know these discussions are here. I want to encourage you to go take a look, comment. Again, just for anyone who's new to GitHub discussions, all you need to do to come in to respond to any discussion is just type into this box. Again, all you have to have is a GitHub account. You can, anything you write, the markdown support, you can see the basic controls here. It's really quite rich. You can include graphics, all that kind of stuff. You can preview what you've written, and then you just hit the comment button, and the discussion goes on. So this is really how I think we're going to be able to work asynchronously, particularly very helpful over the holidays. Nikki, I'm seeing this link to DubHub Wallet. Is that the link to or is that a different wallet?
I'm not sure. It's actually that server's not responding, but when I tried to search for Dub wallet, that's what it came up with. Is it a second B? Is it like rubber dub? Three men in
I
a
honestly,
tub, or is it
yeah,
something else?
good question. I'm not going to click it right now because I'm sharing my screen, but I know that the Ceros.org link that I put in there has a link to DubDub Wallet, or
Right,
the
okay.
official
I'll check it out.
GitHub project. Yeah, quite a robust project, and just so folks know, they have. I first found out about them at IW. They were established in February, but they were just presenting at IW, I guess, 3 weeks ago. They already have commitments from roughly 6 of the 27 member states in the EU to that DubDub wallet would be a certified wallet for those member states. Every member state has to have at least one certified wallet that their citizens start using as of the end of next year, if I have my dates right, 2026. And so the member state either has to create their own or agree to certify, whatever open source or commercial wallets. And the goal of Ceros and DubDub Wallet is to provide a wallet that any member it would qualify and could be certified by any member state. It is a DubDub worldwide wallet because they want it to meet the EU requirements, but also be something that can be used anywhere else in the world. Truly, that's the scope of their project. And that's why they're interested in what we're doing here in the first person project and in what we're doing with Decentralized Trust Graph, because they're seeing that that's a major wallet is just a massive component of what we're doing there. All right, I can see we're almost out of time. I'm going to go back to this. As Jeff said, there are a number of excellent discussions going on. So I don't want to overflog it, but particularly as we go into the holidays, when we're going to luckily we have today. We didn't hit Thanksgiving, but we are going to be going into typically we do take a 2-week break around Christmas and the holidays. And when folks have time, when they are tired of watching movies and they want to go hide away from the family and do something productive, these discussions will be a great tool for our asynchronous work. All right, that I think completes. Let me go back to our agenda here today. Yeah, we've covered both of those. Jeff, is there anything else? Oh, Mitchell just added, he's recently published a study report on ZKPs. Oh, that's very cool. Mitch, did you oh yeah, you put that in the chat. Fantastic. Anything else anyone wants to share here before we sign off and go attack some turkeys? It sounds like we have a general consensus. I heard that turkey back there. All right.
Here's
Thank you,
a
everyone.
Thanksgiving joke for you.
Go. You're gonna
So,
say. Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
so Canadian Thanksgiving's in October. What do we do with our leftover turkeys? We
Oh
send them to
boy.
Washington, D.C.
Oh, I wish that wasn't as funny as it is. All right. Oh, excellent. All right. Well, I do wish everyone in the US a very happy Thanksgiving. And I'll be curious to get all the Wicked reviews next week. We are going as a family tonight. We watched the almost 3 hour Wicked one all over again. And I've got a bunch of the tunes stuck in my head. So looking forward to that. Anyway, very happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And we expect all of you diving into those discussions. We will see you all again next week. And anytime anyone has a proposal for something you want to see on the agenda for our weekly meetings, please use our Discord channel and just get it in there. And as the chairs will make sure it gets on the agenda. And yes, happy leftovers. So thanks all. And I have a conflict, by the way. I'm going to put it in because family's coming to town. I will not be able to be at the APAC meeting tonight, and I know our European chairs are not going to be able to be there. So we may not have to. I'm going to put something in Discord to see if there's enough interest. Folks can definitely get together at that time slot, but I won't be able to be there today. So again, thanks everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye bye.